So in this part we're going to extrude the outlines of the text that we've got here. I've got my outlines, they're in a couple of groups, and we're just going to use an extrude to do this. So under my create menu I can go to generators and I can find the extrude tool, and this will just take a 2D shape and extend it into 3D. So I'm going to do these outlines one at a time. So here's my outer outline. I'm going to drop that onto the extrude. I can see straight away that it's given my outline some depth. And what I can do is I can control how deep that extrude goes by selecting the extrude, and if I have a look at the object tab I can set the movement in the Z axis. So we've got three values here, X, Y and Z. I'm going to set this down quite small, and now I've got an extruded piece of text. Now I've got a couple of layers of extrudes here to do for these outlines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this first extrude, I'm going to grab my move tool, and I'm just going to move it back on that Z, that blue axis there, the Z axis there. Now the other thing I can do with my extrude is I can add a little bit of a bevel to the edges of this extrude. So if I select my extrude and go to the caps, so the caps are the front and the back of this extrude. And what I can do is I can cap both of the start and the end, as these are ticked on here by default. And also I can set up a bevel. So the default here is round, and if I start to turn up the size value, what we get is a bit of a curved edge. Now my text and my logo that I've got is actually quite small in the scene, so I'm getting a pretty extreme result when I turn the size value up. So if I set a really small value here, I'll try 0.02, and now we can see we've just got a little bit of a rounded edge, a round bevel on that text there. Now depending on how big your curves are in your scene, this value might be really small or it could be quite large. We've got a couple of different options for our bevel. We can have a round edge, we can have actually if we have a round edge and we come to these segments and turn that down to 1, what we actually get is a hard sort of like shaved off edge. This segment's value is how many sort of subdivisions of lines or polygons that we have on this bevel here, and the higher this value is, the smoother that will start to get. There we go. So if I add a few divisions, now we can see we've got a smooth rounded edge. So there's a couple of different options for the caps. You can have round edge. You can also add step edges, which gives you a stepped bevel. Now I have an image here that I've made up here showing the difference between some of the different types of bevels on 3D text. So this is just the same extruded text. The top has no beveled edges, it has just flat caps. The second piece of text has rounded bevel, and the third one has stepped, and you can see as the light flows around across the top you get a lot more definition and quite a different look and style out of different types of text depending on what kind of bevel you use. So you can get some really nice results experimenting with those bevels. So I'm going to just leave mine on slightly rounded. So that's the first outline done. So I'm going to duplicate that process. So I'm going to create under our generators another extrude and put the other outline into it. And I'm going to use the same settings. So what did I have there for the extrude? I had 1 centimeters. So let's do the same thing with this one. And for the cap there, I've got a round cap that's 0.02 centimeters. So let me go to this one, rounded 0.02. That way stylistically they'll be consistent. The other thing that I'll do is I'll just grab my move tool and again move this backwards in Z space along that blue axis there. So there's my extrudes for my outlines done with a little bit of a rounded bevel.